international notoriety to local legend now. If you can come on up, our next speaker is Andre Faul from Faul Family Riverside Farm, and they are in Sulphur, Kentucky. In Kentucky, we usually talk about the county people are in. People don't even usually talk about towns. Henry County. Henry County is one of the most rural counties in Kentucky, I believe. I was looking at some data the other day. Yeah, real high on that list. Yeah. So one of our success stories here, and Andre comes from the University of Miami, where he got his master's degree in aquaculture, so he's got a lot of knowledge already going into it, and he helps us evaluate a lot of the things that we're looking at in terms of our research. We want to get it on the farm and make sure it really works, those types of things, so it's a great partnership. And I'll turn it over to Andre. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ray, for having me and inviting me to speak. There's a lot of important and knowledgeable people here, so I feel kind of out of place, but we all have our own areas of expertise and experience, so I just want to share a little bit of what we're doing. First of all, just about our farm. We're in Henry County. It's about 40 minutes from here. We started farming full-time in 2017. My wife, Whitney, and I manage the farm at the moment. So shrimp is just one part of the operation. We also do pasture-raised chicken. We do some layers for eggs, turkeys, hogs, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and using that pasture-based regenerative agriculture model, movement-based agriculture. There's all kinds of different terms for it, but basically we're not doing any confinement with our animals. We also do a wedding venue in our old tobacco barn that we renovated, and then we have an Airbnb space. So, and then in 2018 is when we first started experimenting with the shrimp, and then 2021 we moved into our new building that we put up and started producing in there. So, for small farms like ourselves to be successful, we need a bunch of different income streams to make it work, and that's sort of what keeps us busy every day. Just a few pictures of what we do. We've got those shelters that we move for our chickens. The hogs are in the woods, and now we'll go to the shrimp and why we're here. So in 2018, I reached out to Kentucky State, interested in doing some shrimp because my background is in marine aquaculture. I studied out at the University of Miami under Dr. Benetti, Dr. Daniel Benetti, and then worked at a commercial fish farm in Homestead, Florida. We were raising Florida pompano for restaurants up in Orlando. I was the hatchery manager there, essentially taking the pompano from egg to juvenile and then get stocked out into our grow-out system. So I had some experience with aquaculture. I wanted to get back into it. Got in touch with KSU. They had been working on some marine shrimp and applied for a land grant, or for one of the grants through the land grant program, and was able to purchase 2 of these tanks, a blower, and a couple other pieces of equipment, and just took over one of our hay barns, put those tanks in there, produced about 400 or so pounds of shrimp that year with the help of KSU. They brought me already 1 gram shrimp they took them through the nursery and then brought them to me, so kind of gave me a head start in that department. And then 2020 we invested in building a building just for the shrimp. We got one of those metal Quonset hut buildings. I believe I have a picture of it, of the outside as well. But so this is the inside. This was a couple years ago, so there's another tank in there now, and things are a bit more organized. But it's a Quonset hut metal building. Me and one other guy put this thing together over the course of about 6 months. It was quite a job to put it together. Definitely not OSHA approved, but we got it done. And got the insulation put up. And And we use a little wood pellet stove to heat the place in the wintertime, along with our water heating system. It uses a water heater with recirculates hot water through water lines that go into the tank itself. As I mentioned, or at the bottom there, say something about the insulation. I wanted to do spray foam insulation, but it was going to cost more than the building to spray foam that whole thing because of the way that the building is designed. The surface area is a lot more than if it was just a flat, flat piece of metal going across. So we went with this roll of foam insulation, and it's become a bit of an issue with all the moisture in there. It gets wet and then it sags, and then the things that hold it up break. So I've had to go in there several times to prop it back up and fix it. So it's probably going to be an ongoing issue and just part of the trade-off you make with not spending all that money to put spray foam in. A couple pictures of what it looks like, what it looked like. You can see that scaffolding ratchet strapped to a tractor and a Jeep, and yeah, probably not the safest way to do it, but we got it done. And so yeah, we've been producing in that building ever since. We produce anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 pounds a year. If we have, if we can have consistent PL delivery and all that. So most of our sales are through our direct-to-consumer, through farmers markets and online sales. We just channel it into our existing sales streams that we already sell to with our chicken, pork, and beef. It's just an add-on, essentially. Our biggest clients are really, wholesale restaurants, and that has challenges of its own because you establish a relationship with the chef, and then they leave, and then you got to start all over again. So when you have that partnership, it's nice to have, but you can't really bank on it for too long. And then, yeah, we do a CSA partnership with 2 other farms. Every now and again, we'll offer some shrimp for that, and then we offer home delivery for all of our products. So I usually send out an email on Monday or Tuesday of the week, say, hey, we've got fresh shrimp this week, and folks will order and add it to their order of chicken, pork, and beef and whatnot. So it tends to work out. Becomes a little challenging with harvesting because I'll have to, it's just me and my wife, so I have to get up early in the morning on Wednesday and harvest a bunch of shrimp and get it packaged up. So, but yeah, that's how you learn, and we'll make things more efficient as we go. So, some of the benefits of having shrimp in Kentucky, fresh shrimp, we can market it as a fresh product when it's available. Seasonality is a bit of an issue in having fresh shrimp all the time. So we've experimented with freezing some of it to be able to sell it through a longer period of time. It's great for exposure. The news organizations, the media is all interested in, inland shrimp farming in Kentucky. So it gets our name on the map, gets people talking about us, and then they see, hey, you've got other products too. So it's really nice in that sense too. It's such a unique thing to be doing. It's a great way to get your foot in the door at some restaurants, to be offering that product, and also trying to sell the other products that we also produce. And yeah, it's also just really nice to have fresh seafood so readily available. I always tell my wife how weird it feels sometimes for deciding what to eat for dinner, and I say, I'll just go harvest some shrimp for dinner. I take it for granted because it's so normal for me, but not everybody can just go out and harvest some fresh shrimp for dinner that night. I know I touched on this before, but just working with KSU, they've been a great resource for us getting this thing going and just help along the way. We work closely with them on some projects and data collection and data sharing. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gotten started in this whole thing. And if I ever have to get water testing done, more in-depth water testing, I can just bring a sample here, and they can get me what I need. So it's been a really great resource for us in making this thing work. Yeah, and as with anything, there's challenges to this. The hybrid bioflux system, which is what we run, we've got, our tanks are about 16 cubic meters, so about 45 to 4,600 gallons, give or take. And then we run an external solids separating tank, a biofilter, and then a foam fractionator as well. These are all very rudimentary systems. They're all, instead of, I personally, a conical bottom settling tank would have worked better, but I could buy a 55-gallon drum for $5, so I just use that. It works. But we found that at higher densities, the hybrid bioflux system has its limitations. And so I've reworked some of the things. I've increased the size of our solids tank to try and filter out or remove some more of that flock. Because towards the end of the grow out, the water can get pretty thick with the flock, and it really affects their growth and survival. Water temperature is another issue we deal with in the wintertime, especially. The cost of wood pellets and electricity just keeps going up, and especially during the wintertime, that becomes challenging to maintain adequate water temperature for optimal growth. It usually adds a couple weeks of grow out in the winter when we have to deal with these cold temperatures. But like I mentioned, restaurant sales fluctuate with chefs moving on. So if you have a good arrangement, it's nice to have it, but don't count on it for too long. Offering consistent product throughout the year, that's the big thing with these wholesale contracts, is they want consistent product all the time. And if you can do it for a little bit, that's great. But once you run out, there's a real possibility you're going to lose that customer. And that's what we found. That's why with our other products, we have year-round availability of chicken, pork, beef, as much as we can. And so being more consistent in our production when it comes to shrimp is crucial to keeping these clients. And then finally, as we've all talked about, the PL availability is becoming a real issue. I think for this industry to grow and for us small farmers to survive, we will need a consistent supply of PLs that we can rely on for our business models, because that sort of ties in with having consistent product. Is if you don't have the PLs, you can't produce, and that really messes up your whole production if you can't get them. But yeah, hopefully through this symposium and through us all working together and fixing these issues, we can come up with a solution that'll benefit not only the big players, but people like us who are very small in comparison to some of the bigger operations, but all still trying to contribute to providing fresh and sustainable seafood to our customers. So I think that's short and sweet, but are there any questions? I think we'll have time for more questions later, but if there's any questions now, feel free.